Hello, my friend. Let me ask you something simple yet life-changing. Who do you want to become? Not what grades you'll get this semester, not what job you'll land one day, but who you will be. That question is at the heart of this journey, and it starts right here, right now. If you find this summary helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Book Snap, and comment below the title of the book you'd like us to summarize next. We'll make it happen soon. Now let's step together into this story. Imagine yourself standing in front of a mirror early in the morning. The room is quiet, your reflection staring back at you with sleepy eyes. Maybe you're carrying stress about exams. Maybe you're thinking about the arguments at home. Or maybe you just feel like life is moving too fast and you're trying to catch your breath. That's the place where this journey begins. The crossroads of self-doubt and possibility. Sean Covey reminds us that the teenage years are not just a messy waiting room before adulthood. They are the foundation, the blueprint, the rehearsal for everything that comes after. Yet too often, teens drift through these years like passengers on a train, letting parents, peers, and teachers dictate the route. And when the train stops, they wonder how they ended up somewhere they never chose. The truth is sharper. Every choice you make, no matter how small, is like a brick. Each brick laid today will form the house you live in tomorrow. Skip studying for that math test, and one brick wobbles. Betray a friend's trust, and another brick cracks. But choose to stand up for yourself, to keep a promise, to stay disciplined, and those bricks lock together into something solid, something strong enough to carry your dreams. At first, this sounds overwhelming. So I have to get everything right? No. Nobody gets everything right. The secret is not perfection. It's direction. Even when you stumble, even when you fail, the direction you're facing, forward or backward, growth or excuses, determines where you'll arrive. Covey tells stories of teens who fell into habits of reacting, blaming, or avoiding responsibility. Their lives became tangled, like earbuds stuffed in a pocket, always knotted, always frustrating. But then he shows teens who dared to choose differently, to pause, to think, to act with purpose. And suddenly, the knots loosened. Clarity replaced chaos. Picture a student who feels invisible, always comparing themselves to the star athlete or the straight-A classmate. One day, they decide to stop measuring themselves by other people's rulers. They start asking, what matters to me? What do I want to stand for? That moment is small, almost invisible to the outside world. But inside, it's an earthquake. The ground shifts. A seed of self-belief takes root. This is the new beginning the book promises. It's not about waiting for graduation or waiting until you're an adult with a car and a paycheck. It's about realizing that the habits you plant right now, the way you think, the way you treat others, the way you handle your time and energy, are already shaping your future self. Think of your life like a video game. Every decision earns points toward one of two characters: the stronger, wiser, more confident you, or the weaker, lost, reactive you. Which character are you leveling up today? That is the invitation at the heart of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. It's an invitation to stop drifting, to step up, and to realize that your teenage years are not a waiting room. They are the main stage. And as you take this first step, the question lingers in the air. What would happen if you dared to see yourself not as you are, but as you could be? That's where the story begins. Think about the glasses you're wearing right now. Not the ones on your face, but the invisible lenses through which you see the world. These lenses, your paradigms, color everything. If you see yourself as unworthy, every laugh you hear in the hallway feels like mockery. If you believe the world is against you, even a teacher's correction feels like an attack. But if you carry lenses of possibility, of hope, the same events take on new meaning. Sean Covey calls this the power of paradigms. They're like the operating system running in the background of your life. Most of the time, you don't notice them. You only notice the results, the way you react, the way you interpret what others say, the way you treat yourself. Imagine two students in the same classroom. One is told, "You didn't do so well on this assignment." Their paradigm whispers, "I'm dumb. I'll never get this right." They slump, withdraw, give up. Another student hears the same words. Their paradigm says, "This is a chance to improve." They ask questions, they try harder, and slowly, they grow. The words from the teacher were the same. The difference was the lens. Covey pushes us to ask, what are your paradigms built on? Some are shaped by friends, parents, or media. Maybe your lens says, you're only valuable if you're popular, or you're only good enough if you never make mistakes. These lenses distort reality. They keep you locked in someone else's story. But what happens when you shift the lens? Think of a camera snapping a photo in the wrong focus. The picture is blurry, messy, unsatisfying. Then you twist the lens, and suddenly, the image sharpens. Nothing outside changed. The classroom is the same, the people are the same, but the clarity inside changes everything. There's a story Covey shares about a young person who believed they were doomed to fail because of their family background. Everyone around them reinforced that paradigm. People like us never make it. Then one mentor stepped in and challenged the lens. Your past is not your prison, the mentor said. Your future is yours to build. That single phrase cracked the old lens. From then on, choices that once seemed impossible, applying for scholarships, daring to dream bigger, became natural. Your paradigms are like the maps you carry. If the map in your hands is wrong, you can walk faster, work harder, push longer, but you'll still be lost. Only with the right map does the effort finally take you where you want to go. So what's the right map? Covey argues it's one centered not on other people's approval, not on temporary pleasures, not on possessions, but on timeless principles. Principles like honesty, respect, responsibility. These don't shift with trends or moods. They're like the North Star, steady, reliable, guiding you home no matter how stormy the night. But this realization isn't a neat, aha moment. It's messy. It's like peeling layers off an onion, confronting belief after belief that doesn't serve you. It means catching yourself when you think, I'll never be good enough, and asking, says who? Where did that voice come from? It means replacing it with, I am capable. I am learning. I am becoming. Picture yourself holding two pairs of glasses. One pair makes the world darker, heavier, filled with obstacles. The other makes it brighter, sharper, alive with possibility. The choice of which pair to wear is yours. That choice, quiet and daily, may be the most powerful one you ever make. So pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what lens have I been wearing without noticing? And what would my life feel like if I dared to change it? Picture a stormy afternoon. Rain lashes against the windows. Thunder cracks overhead. Inside, a teen sits slumped on the couch, scrolling endlessly, waiting for the world to change. Every ping of a notification decides their mood. Every word from a parent sparks a fight. Every problem feels like someone else's fault. That's the posture of reactivity. Life is something that just happens to you. Sean Covey calls us to a higher ground. Be proactive. It sounds simple, almost cliché, but its power is revolutionary. To be proactive means to stand up in the storm and say, I choose my response. Not the rain, not the thunder, not the people outside, but me. Reactive people live in what Covey calls the circle of concern. They obsess over politics, gossip, the weather, the latest drama online, all things they can't control. It's like trying to push back the tide with your bare hands. Proactive people live in the circle of influence. They focus on what they can control, their words, their effort, Their attitude. By doing so, their influence expands like ripples in a pond. Think of a friend who's always complaining, "The teacher hates me. The coach never gives me a chance. My parents don't understand." Each sentence is a surrender of power. It's like handing over the keys to your own car and sitting helplessly in the passenger seat while someone else drives your life. Now imagine another friend who faces the same challenges but chooses differently. When the teacher is harsh, they decide to study smarter, to ask for help. When the coach overlooks them, they train harder, proving their commitment. When parents set rules, they look for compromise instead of rebellion. Slowly, their circle of influence grows. Teachers notice effort. Coaches notice discipline. Parents notice respect. The same storm, but a completely different response. Covey offers a metaphor. You are the programmer of your own life. If you don't write the code, someone else will. Peers, parents, media, they'll slip in their lines, shaping how you react. But if you take responsibility, you grab the keyboard and type your own commands. Patience, persistence, courage. Being proactive doesn't mean you ignore emotions. It means you don't let emotions be the boss. Imagine waking up late for school. A reactive mindset screams, "The day is ruined." A proactive mindset says, "The morning started rough, but I can still choose how the rest unfolds." One mindset spirals downward. The other reclaims the day. There's a story Covey shares about a young man constantly teased for his stutter. He could have let bitterness define him. Instead, he practiced, studied, and eventually became a public speaker, inspiring crowds. His stutter didn't vanish, but his proactive choices rewrote the meaning of his struggle. Here's the paradox. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you feel like. Freedom comes from responsibility. When you stop blaming others, you stop being their prisoner. When you own your choices, you own your future. So ask yourself, where in your life are you sitting on the couch, waiting for the world to change? And what would happen if, today, you stood up and said, "No more waiting, I choose my response"? That's the heartbeat of being proactive. Stepping into the storm not as a victim, but as the author of your own story. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine you're driving a car without a destination. The engine hums. The road stretches endlessly, but you have no map, no plan, no idea where you're going. At first it feels exciting. Freedom, spontaneity. But soon, confusion sets in. You keep turning corners, burning fuel, circling back to the same places. That's what life feels like without direction. Constant motion, but no arrival. Sean Covey urges us to begin with the end in mind. This habit is about more than setting goals. It's about asking, what kind of life do I want to live? Who do I want to become? Without those answers, you risk drifting into someone else's story, a character in their play, instead of the author of your own. Imagine attending your own future graduation. The crowd is cheering, your family beaming. Now zoom out further. Imagine your wedding day, or the career you hope for, or even further still, the kind of person people will describe when they talk about you decades from now. Do they say you were kind, courageous, reliable, creative? Those words don't magically appear. They are written today, in the way you treat classmates, the way you keep promises, the way you spend your afternoons. Covey shares that too many teens let external voices dictate their direction. One friend lives only to be accepted by the in crowd. Another obsessively follows trends, always afraid of being left behind. A third defines themselves by grades alone. But when those voices fade, as they always do, what remains? If your life is built on temporary applause, silence becomes unbearable. To begin with the end in mind is to build your life around a deeper compass, principles and vision. It's like standing on the deck of a ship with a clear star to guide you. The waves may toss, storms may threaten, but your direction remains steady. One powerful tool Covey introduces is the personal mission statement. Think of it as your own constitution, a written declaration of who you are and what you stand for. It doesn't need to be fancy. It might be as simple as, I live to lift others. I keep learning. I never give up. Or, I choose honesty, kindness, and courage. I protect my health. I create beauty in the world. When temptation or confusion arrives, your mission becomes the lens through which decisions are made. Consider a student offered a chance to cheat on a test. Without a mission, the decision is murky. What if I get caught? What if I don't? But with a mission that says, I value integrity over shortcuts, the answer is already written. No debate, no wobbling. The compass points north. This habit doesn't just apply to big life choices. It seeps into daily actions. A teen who values family above all might choose to put away their phone at dinner. Another whose mission includes creativity might spend an hour sketching instead of scrolling. These choices seem small, but together they sculpt a future aligned with their vision. And here's the paradox. Beginning with the end in mind doesn't trap you. It frees you. When you know who you are and where you're going, you no longer waste energy chasing every distraction. You stop living like a leaf blown by the wind and start moving like a river carving its way to the sea. So pause for a moment. If your life were a book, what story would you want its final chapter to tell? And are the words you write today worthy of that ending? Because here's the truth. Whether you know it or not, you are already writing the script. The only question is, are you writing it on purpose? Picture your daily life as a jar. Every day, you pour in rocks, pebbles, and sand. The rocks are the big, important things: your health, your relationships, your education, your dreams. The pebbles are the smaller tasks: homework assignments, sports practice, hanging out with friends. The sand is everything else: endless scrolling, gossip, distractions. If you pour in the sand first, the jar fills before you have room for the rocks. But if you place the rocks first, everything else can still fit around them. That's the essence of putting first things first. Sean Covey knows this struggle well. Teens live under constant pressure: deadlines, social expectations, family duties. It feels like being pulled in 4 directions at once. But when everything screams for attention, what decides? The urgent or the important? Urgent things are loud: a buzzing phone, a text from a friend, a deadline tomorrow morning. Important things are often quiet: studying for next week's test, spending time with your sibling, taking care of your body. Too often, the urgent drowns out the important. It's like grabbing fast food because it's quick, while your health slowly suffers. Covey shares a quadrant model. Tasks fall into 4 boxes: urgent and important, not urgent but important, urgent but not important, and neither. Highly effective teens live as much as possible in the second box: not urgent but important. That's where you invest in your health, your relationships, your personal growth. It's preventive medicine for life. Think of 2 friends. One stays up late gaming, skips studying, and crams at the last second. Their life is always a fire drill, a panic, a sprint. The other friend studies a little each day, keeps promises, and balances fun with responsibility. Their life isn't stress-free, but it's steadier, calmer, less chaotic. The difference isn't talent, it's priorities. Putting first things first also means courage. Sometimes saying no to good things so you can say yes to the best things. Maybe it's turning down a party the night before a big exam. Maybe it's choosing to practice guitar instead of another hour online. Each no is really a bigger yes to your future, your values, your dreams. But this habit isn't just about discipline, it's also about balance. Teens often swing between extremes: work nonstop until burnout, then collapse into laziness. Putting first things first is about finding rhythm. Yes, study hard, but also laugh with friends. Yes, chase your goals, but also rest, reflect, and recharge. Covey tells of a student who always dreamed of becoming a doctor, but nearly lost sight of their health in the process. They skipped meals, sacrificed sleep, and carried constant stress. Eventually, they realized, what good is achieving your dream if you destroy yourself along the way? Priorities are not only about long-term success, but also about sustaining yourself for the journey. So look at your jar today. Are the rocks inside, or is it all sand? If the things that matter most aren't in your calendar, your life will be filled by things that matter least. And here's the quiet truth. Nobody else will guard your priorities for you. Not your teachers, not your parents, not your friends. That's your responsibility. Every yes and no is a brushstroke painting the picture of your future. So ask yourself, what are the rocks in my life right now? And am I giving them the space they deserve before the sand takes over? The sand takes over? The sand takes over? Think about the last time you felt like life was one big competition. Maybe it was grades in school, where every A felt like someone else's loss. Or maybe it was sports, where the other team wasn't just an opponent, they were the enemy. Even in friendships, it can creep in. Who's more popular? Who gets more likes? Who tells the better joke? That mindset, Covey warns, is a trap. It's the win-lose game, and in the end, nobody really wins. To think win-win is to flip the script. It means refusing the idea that life is a pie with only so many slices. Instead, it's believing that if we bake together, the pie can grow, and there's enough for all. Picture two friends working on a group project. One insists on doing everything their way, shutting the other out. The project gets done, but bitterness lingers. Now imagine they choose win-win instead. Each contributes ideas. They divide tasks fairly, and both feel proud of the result. The grade might be the same, but the relationship is stronger. That's the hidden power of this habit. It builds trust, the currency of lasting friendships. Covey shares how win-lose thinking poisons relationships. The totem pole friend, who always has to be on top. The doomsday downer, who can't be happy unless others fail. Even the scorekeeper, who tallies every favor and expects repayment. These patterns look like strength, but they corrode connection. Win-win doesn't mean weakness or letting people walk over you. It's not lose-win. It's not giving up your needs to keep the peace. It's standing tall, valuing yourself and the other person, and looking for solutions where both can thrive. It's the courage to say, I matter, and so do you. Think of siblings fighting over the last piece of pizza. Win-lose says, I grab it, you starve. Lose-win says, you take it, I'll go hungry. Win-win says, let's split it. Or better yet, let's make another pizza together. The mindset transforms conflict into creativity. This habit reshapes how you see success. Instead of jealousy when a friend excels, you feel inspired, knowing their win doesn't diminish your own. Instead of resentment when someone gets attention, you recognize that applause for them doesn't silence applause for you. One teen Covey describes used to live in a constant rivalry with her best friend. Every achievement felt like a battle. Over time, she chose a different path. She started celebrating her friend's victories, offering encouragement instead of envy. In return, her friend did the same. Their bond grew stronger, and both rose higher because they stopped pulling each other down. To think win-win is to reject the myth of scarcity and embrace abundance. Life is not about crushing others to climb higher. It's about building ladders side by side. So pause and ask yourself, in my friendships, my family, my school, do I see the world as a battlefield or as a garden where everyone's growth makes the whole place more beautiful? Because when you start to think win-win, you stop measuring yourself against others and start building a life where everyone can flourish. Picture yourself in the middle of an argument. You're talking, but the other person isn't really listening. They're just waiting for their turn to fire back. Maybe you're doing the same. Words pile on words, but nothing changes. At the end, both walk away frustrated, unheard, maybe even more distant than before. That's the cost of not listening. Sean Covey says the path forward begins with a radical shift. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. It sounds simple, but it requires humility. Most of us listen with the intent to reply, not with the intent to truly hear. We filter everything through our own lens. How does this affect me? What will I say next? In doing so, we miss the beating heart behind the words. Imagine a friend confides, "I'm failing math." A shallow response might be, "Oh, that's nothing. I failed once, too." Or worse, "You should just study harder." Both responses push the spotlight back on you, not them. Empathic listening sounds different. "That sounds tough. Do you feel overwhelmed?" Those words open a door. They tell the other person, "This space is safe. You matter." Covey gives examples of teens who healed broken relationships simply by listening differently. One boy was constantly fighting with his father. Every conversation ended in shouting. Finally, instead of defending himself, he asked his dad to share what worried him most. For the first time, the son stayed quiet, really listening. His father softened, admitted his fears, and the wall between them cracked. Empathy is more than nodding politely. It's stepping into another person's shoes and walking around in them. It's imagining their fears, their hopes, their pressures. Sometimes it means noticing what's not said, the hesitation in their voice, the tears they're holding back, the silence that carries more weight than words. But here's the paradox. When you listen first, your own chance to be understood actually grows. People are like mirrors. They reflect what they receive. If they feel dismissed, they shut down. If they feel valued, they open up, and in that opening, they finally hear you too. Think about two classmates arguing over how to do a project. One insists louder and louder on their idea. The other listens, repeats back what they've heard, asks questions, and shows they care. Suddenly, the tension eases. The first student feels respected, and in return, they're willing to compromise. What seemed impossible minutes before now becomes a partnership. Empathic listening doesn't always solve problems instantly. Sometimes it simply creates connection where none existed. A lonely classmate, a stressed-out sibling, a friend going through heartbreak. They don't always need advice. They need presence. They need someone who sees them without judgment. So pause for a moment. When was the last time you truly listened, not just to the words, but to the person behind them? And what might change if, the next time someone speaks, you put aside your reply and simply said, "Help me understand"? Because here's the quiet truth. The deepest bonds are not built on talking. They're built on listening. Close your eyes and picture a choir. Each singer has a different voice, some high, some low, some powerful, some soft. Alone, each voice is limited. But when they sing together, harmonizing, the sound becomes richer, fuller, more beautiful than any single voice could achieve. That is the spirit of synergy. Sean Covey explains synergy as the magic that happens when differences don't divide us but multiply possibilities. Too often, people see differences as threats. One friend is too quiet, another too loud. One sibling is messy, another too organized. At first glance, these contrasts clash. But when seen differently, those same differences become strengths. Imagine a group of students tasked with building a model bridge. One is artistic, another analytical, another practical with their hands. If they all try to lead the same way, the project stumbles. But if each leans into their unique strength, the artist designing, the analyst calculating, the builder assembling, the bridge not only stands, it shines. That's synergy. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Covey warns against the opposite, which he calls compromise. Compromise often means each person giving up something until the solution is bland and weak. Synergy, by contrast, seeks a third alternative, a solution better than what either side could achieve alone. It requires creativity, trust, and openness. Consider two siblings fighting over who gets the car on Saturday night. A compromise might be splitting the hours. One drives early, the other late, leaving both half satisfied. But a synergistic solution might look different. One takes the car Saturday, the other Sunday, and together they figure out a shared ride for Saturday's overlap. Suddenly, both feel heard, and a stronger bond forms. Synergy also asks us to value diversity. Think of a forest. Its strength comes not from identical trees, but from the variety of species supporting each other. Tall pines giving shade, small plants enriching the soil, birds spreading seeds. Human groups work the same way. When everyone thinks alike, blind spots grow. When people think differently, new ideas emerge. Covey shares how many teens underestimate those who are unlike them. The geek, the jock, the quiet kid. Yet when they collaborate, unexpected friendships bloom. One teen recounted how partnering with someone she'd always ignored led to the best school project she ever did, and taught her that differences are not barriers but bridges. Synergy doesn't erase conflict. It transforms it. When people clash, it's often because both are clinging to my way or your way. Synergy asks, is there a better way we haven't seen yet? That question turns arguments into explorations, so pause and look around at the people in your life. Family, classmates, teammates. Instead of asking, why aren't they more like me? Try asking, what can I learn from their difference? How might their strength complement mine? Because in the end, life is less like a solo performance and more like a symphony. And the music only reaches its fullness when every voice, every instrument, every difference plays its part. Imagine a lumberjack in the forest, swinging his axe furiously at a thick oak tree. Hour after hour, he chops without rest. His strokes grow weaker, his frustration grows louder, but he refuses to pause. Another lumberjack nearby stops every so often to sharpen his blade. At the end of the day, the second lumberjack fells more trees with less effort, while the first collapses, exhausted and defeated. That's the lesson of sharpening the saw. Sean Covey teaches that effectiveness isn't just about working harder. It's about renewal, caring for your body, your mind, your heart, and your spirit, so you can keep growing. Without this, even the strongest determination dulls like an unsharpened blade. Start with the body. Teens often push themselves to the limit. Late nights, junk food, endless sitting. The body whispers at first, then shouts. Fatigue, headaches, lack of focus. Sharpening the saw means treating your body with respect. Eating nourishing food. Sleeping enough. Moving daily, whether through sports, dance, or even just walking. It's not about chasing perfection. It's about honoring the vessel that carries you through life. Next, the mind. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you stretch it, the stronger it becomes. Watching endless videos may entertain, but it rarely sharpens. Reading, solving problems, learning new skills, those are the whetstones that keep your mind keen. One teen Covey describes began reading biographies instead of just scrolling online. Slowly, their perspective widened. They saw patterns of resilience, creativity, and courage, and those stories began shaping their own. Then comes the heart, your emotional and social life. Relationships are like gardens. Neglect them, and weeds of mistrust and loneliness grow. Nurture them, and flowers of connection bloom. Sharpening the heart means spending time with people who uplift you, apologizing when you've hurt someone, forgiving when you've been wronged. It's choosing kindness not as a performance, but as a practice. Finally, the spirit. This doesn't have to mean religion, though it can. It's whatever connects you to something bigger than yourself. Nature, art, meditation, prayer, music. It's the moments when you feel awe, standing under a starry sky, hearing a song that moves you, creating something from nothing. Those experiences sharpen your sense of purpose. Covey warns that neglecting any one of these four dimensions creates imbalance. A teen who studies nonstop but never exercises sharpens the mind but dulls the body. Another who plays sports endlessly but never reflects neglects the spirit. True renewal requires all four: body, mind, heart, and soul working together. One story tells of a student constantly on the edge of burnout. They carried stress like a backpack filled with rocks. Finally, they decided to pause, to journal, to exercise, to spend real time with friends, to breathe. Slowly, the weight lifted. Their energy returned, not because life got easier, but because they had sharpened the tools they carried into it. So pause and ask yourself, when was the last time you sharpened your saw? Are you running dull, hacking away at life without strength? Or are you taking time to renew, to grow, to keep your edge keen? Because here's the paradox. Stopping to sharpen doesn't slow you down. It's the very thing that allows you to keep moving forward, stronger and steadier, for the long road ahead. Picture yourself standing on a mountain ridge at sunrise. Behind you lies the winding path of your teenage years. The struggles, the victories, the mistakes, the lessons. Ahead of you stretches a vast horizon, adulthood waiting like a valley full of unknown roads. You take a deep breath, feeling both nervous and ready. That's the image of the lifelong journey Covey leaves us with. The 7 habits are not a checklist to be completed once and forgotten. They're more like guiding stars, always there, even when clouds cover the sky, always pointing you back to your true direction. Proactivity reminds you that you hold the pen to your story. Vision gives you an ending worth striving for. Prioritization teaches you to guard the important over the urgent. Win-win thinking keeps your relationship strong. Empathic listening opens the door to understanding. Synergy transforms differences into strength. Renewal ensures you keep growing rather than burning out. But here's the truth. You won't live these habits perfectly. No one does. Some days you'll slip back into old patterns, reacting instead of leading, chasing distractions instead of focusing, arguing instead of listening. That's not failure. That's the journey. Growth is not a straight line. It's a spiral staircase, circling upward. Each time you stumble, you return to the habit with deeper wisdom than before. Covey shares stories of teens who took small steps that changed everything. A boy who stopped blaming his parents and took ownership of his grades. A girl who redefined herself not by popularity, but by her values. A group of friends who stopped competing and started supporting each other. These weren't dramatic transformations in a single night. They were bricks, laid one by one, until a foundation strong enough to carry a future stood firm. So as you stand at the ridge, the question isn't whether life will test you. It will. The question is whether you'll face those tests with habits that anchor you or with excuses that unravel you. Imagine 10 years from now. What will your life look like if you choose to live these habits? Not just know them, but practice them. Maybe you're walking into a career built on integrity and persistence. Maybe you're surrounded by friendships that run deep because you learn to listen and value others. Maybe you're raising your own family, modeling habits that give your children strength. The picture will be unique to you, but the core will be the same. A life of purpose, resilience, and meaning. And here's the quiet gift. These habits don't just shape your future. They ripple into the lives around you. Your courage sparks courage in a friend. Your integrity inspires trust in a team. Your empathy heals wounds in your family. The habits multiply beyond you, leaving the world a little better than you found it. So here we are at the end of this journey, but also at the beginning of yours. The habits are seeds. What you plant and how you tend them is your choice. Take a breath. Look at your reflection. Look at the road ahead. And remember, the future is not something you wait for. It's something you create. One choice, one habit, one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time.